Welcome to the Kern Competence podcast, a podcast about all things Kern and precision. In the first episode of Season 2, I am joined, again, by Simon and Sebastian. Welcome.
Thank you, Marvin. Welcome.
Hello, Marvin. Hi.
I think this year and this season, we can really start it off with a big announcement. Kern joined Ametech on the end of January. That's a massive mic drop, if I can say that. For those of you who don't know Ametech, if you go on the Ametech homepage, pretty much the first thing you see is their motto, their proverb on which they interact. And this one is, their motto is, solving complex challenges to make the world a better place. And that kind of sounds like Kern, doesn't it?
It does very much, yeah. That's not a coincidence, let me put it like that.
I hope to believe that. Ametech is a pretty large American company. A global workforce is over 21,000 people. They have an annual sales of $7 billion. They are stock listed and they own 175 brands. Well-known brands in the precision world are, for example, the Zygo, which are amazing interferometers, Precitech for the diamond lathes, Taylor Hobson, but also companies from material analytics such as Spectro or EDEX. And you've even seen products from them in Hollywood movies, because the very famous Phantom high-speed cameras, they are also made by a brand owned by Ametech.
Yeah, and maybe that's why the slogan was there before the announcement that Kern also joined that group.
Very nice. I think we have to dig a little bit deeper into the what of what has happened. Simon, can you go a little bit on a deep dive of what happened to the ownership of Kern? What changed?
So perhaps for that, it's important to know how the ownership of Kern was so far. So at that time, so 10 years ago, company Kern was owned by Eckhard Alschweig, and the name Kern came from the founder and his son afterwards, who owned the company and sold it to Eckhard Alschweig at that time. In the years 2018 to 2021, we were able to buy the shares of the company, and we, as a group of 5 people, 4 you most likely know, 1 you don't know. And so these shares, all of that shares, 100% have been sold, if you want, or acquired by Ametech by the end of January.
So generally speaking, Kern is still a German company, still German business. Nothing has changed there. What is changing besides the ownership on a management level at Kern?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because their intent, and if you look at the companies Ametech owns, and this was very important, especially for Sebastian and me at that point, is they keep the brand, they keep the entity, they keep the folks on board, they let them do the stuff they did so far. They just help them to be more successful and to grow their business.
I mean, this is really interesting, because if you, for example, if you go on the homepage of Precitech, and I think they've been owned for over 10 years now by Ametech, if you go on the homepage, it's still precitech.com, or something before that. So they have their own URL. If you go on the homepage, it's still the Precitech logo, it's still the same brand. It's just like next to their logo, there's like a small Ametech logo, like it's an Ametech brand.
We will most likely, so I don't know for sure yet, we will most likely have something similar. And you can look at other companies like Spectro, for example, or others. There are many examples where there were companies with 50, 100 million turnaround. They now have 200, 300, 400 million turnaround. They are still independently managed. Of course, they have the corporation on top. It's a lean organization. It's not a matrix. So we talked about that in some podcasts before, that Sebastian and I worked at 3M, in another US company that was organized mainly in a matrix, which is challenging. This is a classical hierarchy, and so to answer the question, so right now, not a lot of things change. So if you have been on vacation without a phone and you come in here without knowing, so I think you will not recognize. So Sebastian and I are still in place. We are all working in the same departments, doing the same stuff. And I think that was one of the very important criteria to ensure that the path that we started is still followed and will be followed for the future.
Yeah, so may I add something here? So the simple truth is that Ametech is only interested in successful businesses. And this is why they contacted us because they saw it's a successful business. And of course, what you don't want to do is changing a successful business. And this is why everything should really stay the same. And that's especially true for Simon and me. So I can just talk about me personally. I like what I'm doing, and I like that since 10 years now, or nearly 10 years with Kern. I come to the office every single day, just having that tasks in front of me, and I love working here. It's really, and I have so many ideas how to optimize. Or please,
That's probably also because you see me at work, right?
yeah,
If you're not skiing, yes.
yeah, not in the early morning, but a little bit later. Yes, you can sometimes come along. Yeah, that's if you're not skiing. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, I deserve that one. You mentioned a very good point, and that's kind of like Ametech's business model. Sebastian, could you maybe explain a little bit more, like how are they doing their business? Like what are they doing to earn money? Why do they buy companies? Explain a little bit about that one for our listeners.
So of course we will see. Might be the honest answer on that. No, the truth is, so they are successful at what they are doing. You can look at their development they had in the stock. And it's simply the truth that they only buy successful businesses, and what they did in the past, and this is what we are looking for. Because of their structure and their help, they make it more successful and let them grow. And this is at the end of the day what we are here for. Also, the last years, our intention was always to grow the business. Also, here the simple truth is, it's the easiest thing to lead a company is as long as it's growing. Yeah, you can make the decisions which seem to be bold, but if you have a growing business, then you can afford it. And this is what they want to see. They want to see this company, same as all the other brands, growing in the near future and also long term.
Finding synergies on that point and really actually combining things. There's this ultra precision group. You named some of the brands that are in there, and just to join forces on the one or the other thing, especially also in maybe technologies or purchasing, procurement, or especially sales and things like that, is very important.
So maybe to put it to a more concise point, the business model of Ametech is basically purchasing very healthy brands and then using their market share, their synergies, their structures to advance all of the brands at the same time. Could be put like that way.
Yeah, I would put it that way. Yeah.
Okay, it's very nice. And I think this leads us very nicely over into the motivation. Why did you sell Kern to Ametech?
That's the biggest question, huh? I think it's if I'm allowed to answer right away. So Sebastian for sure will have some other stuff to say. It's three things that challenge us every day. The first is, and it's fair to say that not every company has this challenges. The first is, we want to be 2 steps ahead. So we want to invest into our differentiation. We know where the way is going. We know what to do. And still, the way is kind of rocky and uphill. But nevertheless, we know where to go, which will allow us to be successful also in troubled times. We saw that last year, for example. A lot of companies were struggling. We were doing very good. Also by the beginning of the year, our numbers are good. Cash is good. All the important stuff. The second is security, stability, reliability. So not only but of course for our employees and for ourselves, but also for our partners, our customers. Out there, we want to be stable. We want to be rock solid, so to speak. And the third thing is really helping Kern to its potential. So really getting that global sales be in everywhere where we are relevant. And we see that this relevancy increases year by year by the things we're doing. And I don't want to overdo it right now, but these three things are very hard to combine because you're always coming back to the point you don't want to risk what you already made. And it's really hard to take risks, and everybody knows there's no free lunch. So you always have to put yourself in. You always have to take risk to actually, or make an effort to actually win. And I think for me, the core of that decision has been with Ametech, within this group, we can do all three things at a time. So we can grow the business through their international offices and structure without now using sales reps from another entity. That's not the intention. So, and you will not be able to sell a Kern machine just with a 2 days training or something like that. We're very picky on that, and that will stay the same. But they have a global infrastructure. If you go even to France, this is a challenge for us today, or Asia is really difficult. And having a strong partner there makes a difference. And also they see the potential in the things we're doing, big things that are ahead of us, accelerating those big things to be faster and making an impact faster, and perhaps also fighting competition better than we've done before. Plus also being there when times are more challenging. And that has always been the problem. I think we bring a lot when it comes to management. So our commitment is infinite and total. But at the end, our how should I say,
pocket money.
Yeah,
means.
it's limited,
Yeah.
So
the points you were making, because you were talking about structure, you were about stability and investing into the future, and also about increasing that base we have, not just like the company here in Germany, but also like every structure we have, sales departments, service departments. I think this is something we have been doing very, very well the past 5-6 years. Once you guys really picked up the slack in the company, it took a little bit of time to develop me. I've been here for 6 years, and every year has been greater than the year before. But this is kind of us moving through good times. It was difficult times for the market, but it wasn't difficult times for Kern in the sense of that we were struggling. But it needed a lot of effort. But there was never a year where we were like, oh, we don't have money. That didn't happen. And I think all of these points you're speaking about, they become even more important and even harder to manage once you actually hit difficult times and not good times.
Yeah, I think a good example, and I don't need to go into detail on that, is tariffs right now. So there are things popping up on the horizon, perhaps not in a too far away future. So I think Mexico and Canada already see that might have a big impact for us too. So, and that I don't want to say that this is the reason why we did, because the whole process took nearly 3/4 of a year to actually come to that point, making the decision, doing all the work on that. But it's as you said. So we have to take risk. It's harder to take risk, honestly speaking, with what you achieved and what's behind you already. And you don't want to get lazy. So you want to push forward. And so that was the point where I think this company is so much of the personality also of Sebastian and myself. So we use so much of our time for this company that it is part of our personality, at least of mine. I can tell that it's hard to split. And therefore, at some point last year, we said, okay, if this is really the case and we are up for the best for the company, then it's the right decision to make, even if it's by far more sympathetic if you're a family-owned company, for sure. So it took us quite some time to actually get familiar with this idea.
Sebastian,
Okay.
do you want to have any input before I ask the next question?
There is
just like silence going on and on again.
Yeah, so everything was said, but not from everybody so far. So no. So for me, just what we get immediately, and this was for sure motivation on that. We get this solid fundament immediately with this big corporation, thinking about managing risks in terms of cybersecurity, compliance, sustainability. There's so much to say. Simon said tariffs, but all that. We need a solid basement and for future growth. And for future growth, and this was our personal feeling during that whole due diligence process, this solid base is so important for future growth. And we have so many ideas, but we can just take a certain portion of risk. And this is our biggest motivation, in that it feels like that we are now able to take a higher portion of risk to let it grow, maybe even faster. Of course, then we get measured on the targets, so we will see how that works out. But we are now in a situation where we can take more risk, realizing more ideas in terms of innovation, and this is in both directions. So Marvin, how many times did you ask me about a Zygo surface measuring device, and on the other side, how many times did our friends from contract manufacturing try to sell high precision parts to companies which are now within the Ametech group? So there's a lot of potential in every single aspect.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably something, if you're not a business owner, I'm not a business owner, so for me it's a little bit hard. But if I put myself into your shoes a couple of months ago, I do, like, personally in my job, I do very high risk research, and we are never sure when we start a project whether it's actually going to work out.
Or if the machine is burning.
Or the machine, yes, I'm an expert in that. I love it. But the thing is, if my projects don't work out, everybody still gets paid. So if I do a mistake, if my research doesn't happen, you're probably going to slap me a little bit on the wrist, but this is the thing with high-risk business. At the same time, if I imagine I would own a company and you're responsible for the people as well, that would be pretty crass, I think. Like, the responsibility you have to carry. And as you said, it was easy in the times where it's growing, but in hard times, and last year definitely was hard for the majority of businesses, in hard times, this responsibility increases even more. And the point I'm making here is, you could really see when talking to the two of you last year how much this responsibility was weighting you down. And like you said, it's difficult to be innovative and to take risks if you look at what you have achieved. So I'm really curious for the future there, to see where it will take us now. And I don't mean by this that we are now going to take massive risks because there's someone else paying. That isn't the case. It's just like, maybe there is a little bit of a security net.
And this is so exactly what you said before is, I think for a company, you have two strong elements when it comes to people. The one is management. And as I said, so with all humbleness, so the last 10 years were good for Kern. So, and I think it's not coincidence because times were better before. So they got harder with 1920 Corona and whatsoever. But the second group is the shareholders group. And right now, or before, where management was the shareholder, that made stuff very easy at the beginning to change things quickly and holistically. But right now, this is not the case anymore. We don't need quick and tough decisions. We need to have decisions that are well thought through, quality, etc. So if you have a shareholder right now that brings something else to the table, like internationalization, lots of money, knowledgeable people and processes and things like that, then it's good. And let's be perfectly honest, it's not all is gonna be good. So looking at Sebastian and I, and we've been through that, having someone above us is a problem if it's not the customer. So it's gonna be tough. If they listen to the podcast, by the way, you don't know what you signed up for. No. So there are some trade-offs for sure, but on the other hand, we saw that the benefits for every single one, for family and friends of Kern, is bigger than the risk.
I mean, Sebastian mentioned earlier, it's that transition from a family-owned company to now a mega-sized corporation. And this is always tough to swallow for the people here, especially. You told the current employees last week. It kind of was like a short announcement by the two of you, and then someone from Ametech was speaking for 45 minutes in English, which for the majority of people here is a tough language. I have to say, in the beginning, it was like a bomb dropping, because people were really unsure. But something I mentioned to the two of you, and prepare your backside, I'm now crawling in, is I just have enough trust in the two of you that it's a good decision. Because so far you have not managed us wrong. And I think also having that little bit of supervision where you are like, you don't like that, it's also going to be very nice. Because at the moment, if you do like a technical decision someone doesn't agree with in this company, people are immediately in your office. I think I'm in your office like twice a week and be like, are you stupid? You can't do it this way. You can't promise this to the customer.
Or even better, if Sebastian says no, you come to me the other way around.
Yes, exactly. So this happens a lot in this company. And we did a podcast about how people are always storming into your offices and talking about technical details. But something which I don't think is happening a lot in this company is people questioning your financial decisions, your strategic decisions, and having a little bit of an overlook on this one. And I don't say they should look very deeply into it, because you're doing very, very fine, but this is probably a good idea.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for your feedback, Marvin. So thank you very much. The truth is, of course, it was a big shock for many Kern employees, and it. So looking back this week, it was also not prepared very well from our side. This is just what we have to admit at this point. We have no experience in selling companies, by the way. It was the first time and maybe the last time. This was also underestimated at least by me. I don't know if by...
No, I was completely fine with it. No, absolutely not.
And of course, that needs a lot of explanation, and we were not in prepared very well for that presentation. We tried to explain a lot during the last week, and yes, Weißwurst will stay Friday morning hours. We will not switch to hot dog. No, this is just for us a big learning over the last week, that this change needs a lot of explanation and a lot of investment right now, time-wise, to get all the people involved in that. We are in this process since 8 to 6 months. So for us, it was just, that's the right decision. We looked through it. It feels perfectly fine. And during that, you forget that nobody else except us is involved in that process. And then you underestimate what happens.
I mean, hypothetically speaking, if our vending machine contained Bavarian beer, obviously it doesn't. So for all of the due diligence people listening, and there's no beer in our vending machine, it will not change to Budweiser's, will it?
As long as I.
I think that is what I heard in the first week is, are we still allowed to do this and this? And what I always say, I now ask 5 questions up. And always got the answer, you need to know what to do. We don't tell you what to do. You need to do. How did you do it so far? I said, I did it. Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, and also here, it's the same thing. We are a successful company. Over the last years, the success rate in terms of in this difficult field of machinery business was great. And why should anybody has an interest or have an interest to change anything? There is no, it would makes no sense. Absolutely not. So this is.
Well, I mean, these completely unfunded fears, they do exist with the people if you present them with something new. So I've been doing my very best the past 1.5 weeks to support you two. Whenever a colleague asked me or had a theory that was absolutely mind-boggling, I told him, oh, by the way, our new official language is now English, so you need to stop speaking
Thank you, Marvin.
German. And the funny thing is, I'm now gonna use my non-existent Bavarian. Absolutely everyone at that point looked at me and went, nah, schmarren, which is something like bullshit. So yeah, people didn't believe that. And I think this makes people realize, okay, not a lot has changed.
Yeah. This is, but this is something that's typically Kern, especially, I shouldn't say the department, but this is just like if you, so the level of creativity is sometimes really is crazy. So I haven't heard anything about that so far, but I guess there are rumors out there crazy. But in the past, this was always like that, and I, it's
But
always
just
sorry.
sorry for interrupting, but on the other side, so directly after this announcement, we had a small group of people in R&D standing together, and they immediately came up with ideas and said, "Oh, this company, I know them. They have great sensors. Can I have it? What to do with it?" So it immediately started that ideas came up, which would most probably would not appear if that announcement would not have been.
I mean, the thing I liked a lot about that Friday where you introduced it to the people here was the employees from Ametech, and I was also a member of the board here. They just went into, afterwards, they went into some of our meeting rooms and they told us it's open doors policy. You can go there, meet them, talk to them. And I met a couple of them before when they were visiting Kern, but still it was very nice to go there. And one of them, Tony, he immediately offered to me, because he remembered and he knows I did a little bit of diamond turning, he immediately offered, hey, do you want to visit Prezitech and just like exchange ideas with them? And this was something on the very first day we know about it, they were offering it. And it didn't really feel like an offer to silence me. It felt like an honest offer that is something they are living inside that corporation, that you can just go there and ask them. I mean, this is really nice because typically speaking, if you come from Kern and you ask a diamond turning lathe manufacturer or something, they are like, go away, you are starting to become competition.
Yeah.
So that's really nice.
That was also our experience. Very nice guys, always with the company for a long period of time. Unfortunately, all hardcore technicians, not so much marketing folks. Oh yes, they are, but really reliable.
This is why they are
really
successful.
Tough. That's really tough
since
for
90
Sebastian,
years.
isn't it?
Since 90 years, they are successful, and this is why. Yeah,
I'm the shining starfish. Why he is a part of the crowd, you know.
Simon, I wanted to say that you are the technically oriented one, and Sebastian has the marketing background.
Skills.
I said that.
Yeah, okay. But it's. I think this makes a really nice lead over to our next segment, and this is kind of like the process, because you said it was nice getting to know them. And I think especially our American listeners are going to be really interested in how do you sell a company? How does that work?
So
maybe start, and obviously only tell us what you're allowed to tell, but maybe start with how many offers does Kern usually receive in a month?
In a month
or in a year?
Yeah. So over the last years, and this is also due to the success, of course, we got on the radar of many family groups or family businesses or strategic investors, so buy and build or something like that. And we get offers, I don't know, maybe one every second month or so.
I would really say so. I have to collect them all the time. So
I just hand them over.
10 to 15 a year. That you really should at least have a look at, because they're interesting. But people you know, or family offices you know.
Yeah.
So.
But the truth is, we never looked at a single one in detail. Never ever. And what happened last year, and I think it was May or June timeframe. I can look it up. It was So how my normal working day starts, I grab a coffee at 6 o'clock at a gas station nearby. And this is how my normal working day starts. And sometimes I'm a bit early, so it's 10 before 6, and then they have not opened yet. So I check some emails or sports news or whatsoever. And so I found a LinkedIn message. It was from Ametech, business development manager. Of course, it was crystal clear what he wants to talk about. And I knew the brand Ametech at that point in time. I knew 3 brands. It was Prezitech, Taylor Hobson, and Zygo. And then I grabbed my coffee, came into the office, everything was good. But I don't know if it was the same day or the day after. I stepped in Simon's office and said, I was contacted via LinkedIn. And for me, that sounds pretty interesting. So we should look into that. And this is how the whole thing started. So again, here I handed it over to Simon. Simon made the first contact. Then, of course, that all starts pretty, I don't know, carefully. You just get to know each other. You have some presentations back and forth. And then so we started really with the due diligence after the IMTS. So at IMTS, they visited the booth.
Yeah. So one of the big bosses came over also. We kept everything secret. Actually, the funny thing about that was that usually I think the expectation of an American company like that is when you are approached, you like to sell to them. But we didn't. We want them to back and actually make all the efforts, which they did. And so we kept our seat on the table, but always being a little bit, I would say, skeptical about this and that. And it really took a while. You'll see, now you're jumping from June to September. We had some discussions in between, also visit. We looked at this and that. We did our due diligence. And then actually on the IMTS, they said, okay, from our side, we're really interested. So if you want, we go into a so-called due diligence phase. That means that they turn you upside down and you're inside out. And what's a good, nice picture. And really look into every bits and pieces. And this was painful as fuck. Am I allowed to say that?
No. But, no, I would not.
God, it was.
For us personally, yes, because we wanted to keep the team as small as possible. Because really, our intention was not to sell the company as in the year 2024. And if this partnership with Ametech would not happen, we would just do the same thing. Maybe the next few years, I don't know. But this was the once in a lifetime chance we saw into that in this for Kern, and the process was just so cumbersome for us because we tried to manage it just 4 people at Kern, and this was hard. From the other perspective, from the other side, it was highly professional. Oh. This is what I would judge it.
Yeah, it was really literally like we were in meetings. You had 8 people from Ernst & Young, 6 lawyers, 5 people from
one
Ametech,
from Kern,
and Sebastian and I, or Fabian and I answering the questions. And this was quite an experience. Also going through, and nobody, we didn't want to protect people, also to protect the company. So you don't want to be in a situation where everybody knows and they say, oh, they tried to, but they didn't succeed selling. Wow. We wanted to avoid that at any cost. And so therefore we kept it between the 3 of us, honestly. And this was really, in addition to the daily work in a challenging year. Wow. This was crazy. Yeah.
On the other side, of course, a day has just 24 hours, and we really invested a lot into that due diligence and the standard business. I want to just mention that this is what I recognized. The standard business, like operations, service, and all that stuff. We have so many great people here at Kern doing all that. So this is also a learning for me. So just give them the responsibility they deserve, and let them do. They know exactly what to do and how to do that.
Now I'm not reacting to that pointed finger, Simon. Could you maybe give us 1 or 2 examples of the due diligence process? Like, what were they asking for?
Tons of things. They look into every bits and pieces. So how do you do in the company sales? Do you do everything right in terms of tax, liabilities, whatsoever? Not just financial things. A lot of stuff that is really bound to the law in specific countries you're selling, the quality of the machines, the quality of your procurement, really everything. How did you build the company? Is everything in order? And actually, that's what they told us, is that the percentage of prospects they have that actually finally at the end of the day get acquired is really low, because you always find something everywhere. But that's what we're a little bit proud of, is they didn't find shit.
You
No,
didn't
it's-
show you didn't show
No,
them
I'm
the
just kidding.
basement with the nuclear waste, right?
Well, no. What are you talking
Yeah, no,
about?
no idea.
Of course, they are looking a lot into where is potential risk in it. So they are looking a lot into EHS, so environmental health safety things, and also what domains do you really do you have the right to use the domains you're using? What about the IP you have? Is that really securing your business? What about trade secrets and is that something you can build on? And so it's about risk. At the end of the day, it's about risk management because the sales numbers and the profit is clear just by sharing a number or two. But then you have to find out, okay, what is the risk? And the third portion is what is the potential? And
And I think it's fair to say. So I know this company like my left pocket, but honestly, in this period of time, I learned quite a lot about the
your
company
left,
I didn't know before.
about your left pocket. You learned a lot about your left pocket.
It's literally like that. This is what are you asking for? Just I never looked into that. Never figured out. Oh, glad we're good. Yeah. And then we had, so it was really stressful, took a lot of time, especially in the evenings. We had episodes like, for example, on Christmas Eve. So the 24th of December is a holy day for me. So this is just for family. So I don't know what needs to happen that would distract me from that day. Well, honestly, we had a telephone
Selling a
call.
company.
Yeah, we had telephone calls till the afternoon. Till then, Sebastian said, I have to leave now. My 98-year-old grandma is sitting in the kitchen waiting for me, and I have to go now.
Yeah.
Maybe one last question on the process. How did the final signing of the papers work out? Is it like in Hollywood movies?
I don't know. We weren't there.
Exactly
I don't
like
kn-
that.
I
It's
don't
exactly
know. We
that.
weren't there.
I always thought about suits and so on. I don't know if this translates. It's the same topic. That was pretty funny. We paid people to make the signature, and they did too. So the problem is you get a contract that is pretty big. So it has the core contract has 80 pages, and there is another 120 pages in just appendixes, and that doesn't. It's not enough. Huh?
No, that's not enough.
And then and you're sitting at the notary, and in Germany the notary needs to read every single word. So actually, a lawyer is the most expensive thing that you can hire. But in this particular case, it was worth every money because they had to go.
Or a
through-
future application engineer.
Yeah, also.
I don't know who that is. I'm future
And they had
technologies.
to listen to it, and yeah, actually, I don't know what we did that evening, but at some point somebody said, okay,
At the 24th.
no, at the 23rd in the evening, they said it's signed, and the closing was on the day after.
Yeah.
And somebody some of the lawyers wrote a desperate message and said, we're through. The reading is done, that's what he said.
Yeah, the reading is done.
And we signed. Yeah. So we weren't there. Expectation was a little bit different, honestly speaking, but we were so glad that we didn't have to go to Frankfurt and listen to 8 hours reading of stuff that we've read 1,000 times before. So
I would say that poor lawyer, but he probably got a lot of money for reading that, so
I'm afraid, yes.
no good feelings for him. Okay.
So did Simon and I talk about that process and that final signing for more than 5 minutes? No. On Friday evening, we had one grappa together at the bar where nobody else was present, and this was more or less the celebration we did that this process was successful and will be successful for the Kern future. Not more. So there is no, since today, not a big party because it's now a lot of work. So integration starts right now. And
I mean,
And
I was
we-
in Simon's office when the notification about the closure came. This was Friday morning. I was in your office, and you were just like, "Oh, closure came," and then we continued talking about my stuff. So yeah, didn't really look like a big deal at that time.
This is always you work towards a point, and I think everybody knows that you work towards a point, and if it's not your axioms or something like that, and for us the most important thing was this is not the end, this is the beginning for us personally. So we are really committed to the job and to the company. I think this This is important to say. Otherwise, usually you sell and you're gone. And but it's not. So the day after, the minute after, work starts. And honestly, our challenge is we made a decision and we truly believe it's the right thing. It's on us to prove that it is. So the challenge and the proof will be for the future that things get bigger, Kern gets bigger, Kern keeps
I heard
its
about big
identity.
things.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Come on, stop. And therefore we're making progress, and therefore, yeah, work already started. We should celebrate someday.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we haven't done that since the 10 years we were at Kern, honestly speaking. But perhaps we do it this time with everyone, for sure.
I think this is a very good thought to end this podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you both very much for your time,
Thank
you, Marvin.
and see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.